first broadcast day of 2025. And ooh, baby, there's a lot going on. And I'm just checking out, making sure everything is up and running during this morning's broadcast. Thank you for coming in and joining us. It is, it's been an eventful couple weeks. 16 days, something like that. It's a little bit crazy, but we are here. We're ready to rock and roll, and we are ready to go for this brand new year. And I hope that you are all happy and ready and willing and able to stick with us here as we jump into 2025. It has been it's been a fun and interesting time for the last again few days, and I'm looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. I totally, at some point this morning, I almost forgot how to do all this. I was looking around going, wait, what do I do now? How do I change this? Anyway, so welcome back to the program and good morning. Thank you for being part of it. And we appreciate you guys coming out and joining us. What's on the agenda today? Well, I'm going to do a little catch up with you. We're gonna take some time, and we're going to go through a little bit of stuff and things. Is that the right thing? We're going to go through stuff and things, all the stuff that kind of took place and happened over the time frame. I'm going to give you an personal update on my life and what's happening, and then we'll get into some of the big headlines that we missed over the holiday break. And quite honestly, I was really surprised that I was and I wasn't. So just a little bit of history for those of you who are wondering how this works, over the holidays. I have, for the last, it must have been the last 10 years, maybe more, 10, 15 years. I have always taken off the time between Christmas and New Year's. Why? Well, because first of all, it's the holidays, and nobody really wants to talk about, politics and everything when they're trying to be in the holiday spirit. They're trying to, we're trying to do the feel good and have fuzzies and everything else. And on top of that, there's just not a lot happening. There's just not a lot happening. And so it seems like a perfectly reasonable time to take the holiday off. And so here we are. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. And I'm kind of glad I did, because there was there was just not a lot going on while I was gone. I went back and I scanned it. It was interesting. But there was just, it got real quiet. I mean, there was some national stuff, don't get me wrong. But as far as Alaska news that is pertinent to what we cover here on the program day in and day out, statewide politics and things like that, not a lot happening. Just not a lot. So we got a few things though. And so we're going to cover that, and we're going to look at some of the pre-session stuff as well, because we are, what are we, 10 days away? I've got to pop a calendar here. I think it's the 21st, right? So we are just over 2 weeks away. Is it the 14th or the 21st? I can't remember. This is why I should never take vacation, because now I can't remember. Anyway, we're 1 to 2 weeks away, whether it's the 14th, Tuesday the 14th, or Tuesday the 21st. we are 1 to 2 weeks away right now from jumping in to this brand new session, which is going to be which 21st. Thank you, Donna. 21st is the so we're 2 weeks away from jumping into what is going to be a very interesting session. It's crazy. And I know we're not broadcasting right now on 660 AM in Fairbanks. They've got a problem with something there, so apparently somebody's trying to fix it. We'll get it fixed during the commercial break if we can. Meanwhile, we'll be back on, but we are on the big radio stations down here on the peninsula, which is one of the things that I want to talk about. But let me give you a preview. Let me give you a preview here. Again, I'm so out of practice. I take 2 weeks off and wow, out of practice. All right, but here's what we're going to cover. Some of the stories that we're going to cover. So, the first one is the gas situation. The RCA finally sounded off. Ooh, what happened? What happened? The RCA finally I don't know if Brad Keithley's mantra and his ranting has finally gotten somebody's attention or what. But it appears that that's some good news. That's some good news. The RCA, we're gonna delve down into that, and we'll talk about that here as we go through. But I mean, this is some good news for us here in that regard, is that the RCA is going to get involved. We'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about the new gas storage facility that Hillcorp wants to get in on and get things going on. We're also going to talk about the new push to take your PFD through the need of the schools. David Boyle's got a good piece over at Must Read we're going to dissect here a little bit later this morning, and we're going to get into that and talk about that as well. Also, a meeting of the Alaska Public Offices Commission on New Year's Eve. I don't know what the outcome of this is because they never followed up with another story. But since Kevin McCabe's in the chat room, maybe he can tell me. Maybe he can tell me what's going on here during the break or whatever. But there was apparently a last-minute meeting scheduled of the Alaska Public Offices Commission, and also the fact that there may be a second Gabrielle Ledoux trial. If one wasn't enough, we need more. So we'll see what happens with that as well. And so those are some of the stories. And of course, the other big issue coming up pre-session is going to be the amount of the PFD and the spending. Oh, and the PFD applications are now open, so that's going to be good as well. And I think that those are all the stories that we got going on. The thing in Delta too, the the fire chief. Did you see that? $400,000 embezzlement. Okay. All right. I think we're up to speed on all the stuff that we're going to talk about there. But before we get too far along, let's get into some advisories, especially for those of us who are down here on the Lower Peninsula. So the first big advisory this morning is that the Seward Highway is closed in both directions just south of Girdwood. So if you're traveling, you're figuring on going up to Anchorage today or whatever, they're saying that the highway closed just about an hour ago. And they said that they expect it to be closed in both directions for several hours, just south of Girdwood at mile 83. There was no injuries, no injuries in the collision, but they're going to have to apparently clear the roadway and do a bunch of other stuff. But the road right now, the Seward Highway, is closed at mile marker 83 and will be, for what the troopers are saying, is several hours starting an hour ago. So if you're headed north, you may want to pull over and get a cup of coffee and maybe a little breakfast and take your time and do that. Secondly, winter weather advisories in effect right now. For up in Anchorage, they've got some mixed precipitation expected from noon Monday to 6 a.m. on Tuesday, up to an inch of total snow and ice accumulations up to a quarter of an inch. Hazardous driving. Rain is most likely to spread in the Anchorage and the Matsu. Temperatures may rise above freezing. The surface temperatures, of course, still going to be bad. Down here on the Kenai Peninsula, freezing rain. Total ice accumulations of a light glaze from 9 a.m. this morning to 3 a.m. tomorrow. Very slippery on sidewalks, roads, and bridges. It could impact any morning commute that you have. There's a series of storms that are going to bring considerably warmer weather and a chance of rain to the area through Tuesday, and it's most likely to spread into the western Kenai Peninsula from this afternoon through tonight. And again, temperatures will be above freezing, but the surface temperatures, the air temperatures will be above freezing, but surface temperatures are still, it's cold. It's going to make that ice and snow. And then they've got a wind advisory for Delta Junction. Big surprise for all you folks out there in Delta Junction. The wind's going to blow. Southeast winds 25 to 35 with gusts up to 55 until noon today. So lots of weather. Lots of weather happening around the community. The Matsu, I just had to mention this because I'm not in the Matsu anymore. Mixed precipitation expected. Total accumulation of 6 to 12 inches of snow. 6 to 12 inches of snow. And ice accumulations up to 0.2 of an inch in the Matsu Borough. Now, most of that's southern Copper River Basin, but, you know, the Glen Highway from Glacier View to Tulsana and along the Richardson towards Thompson Pass, they're going to see a lot of snow. So luckily, we're not there anymore. Luckily, we're not there anymore. Where this morning here at the old Radio Ranch, we're talking about 36 degrees. 36 degrees here outside the old, although it was a little breezy last night. The house was a rattling. It was a little breezy. So it's all good. There's trade-offs, right? At least it's not, and you poor folks in Fairbanks, holy cow. Tony in the chat room, who is a longtime friend of the show, also used to work on my furnace when I lived in Fairbanks. Tony says, I've got some Alaska news. Some of y'all in Fairbanks need to get on top of your heating system maintenance. This last cold snap had me running emergency calls back to back like a dang Vietnam combat medic. It was like 40 below, man. People were like, woo, this is what it's like. This is what it's like in Fairbanks. So anyway, that's the pre-show for the first segment. We're going to get into what I've been doing, what some of the changes are going to be, which may or may not affect some of you folks up north in the interior. And although we are being broadcast on translators in Delta Junction, so it's good. I heard from somebody in Delta on Friday after they called about some of the changes that are going on. So it's going to be good. So we're looking forward to that. Is that, you feeling it? You feeling it? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. All right. I'm getting my mojo back here. I'm figuring out how all this stuff works again. I'm remembering everything that I was supposed to be doing. How was I supposed to do this again? Yeah, push this button. No, that button. No, this button. All right, we're going to go. The Michael Duke Show continues. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Hey, look at that. We went to commercial break and everything like we were supposed to. Hold on a second. Don't go anywhere. I got to check something. This is the first time I've done all this. Look at that. It worked. It worked. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. And for those of you who are trying to listen in Fairbanks, they have fixed it. They're going to come to me after the break. They're about to do it. They're about to do it. All right. So, this all looks good. Not only did I have to remember how to do all this stuff again, because my head has been full of a lot of things. Yeah. Not only did I have to remember how to do all this stuff, on top of that, I'm monitoring our new automation system here at the stations in Homer, making sure that we, that it's talking and it's taking the, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I mean, maybe you don't, but that everything's talking to each other and doing what it needs to do. So, let me pull this back up one more time. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get it all squared away. All right. Okay. So how was your guys's, I would say break, but how was your guys's holidays? Been a while since we had a chance to chitty chatty. Did you have a good holiday? Was it fun? Was it enlightening? Was it relaxing? Inquiring minds want to know. I got to tell you, for me, it was definitely educational. Let's see. So for the last, I got down here, 27, 40. So for the last 6 weeks, I've had 2 days off. 2? No, I guess really 1 day off. I had Christmas Day off. That's all I took Christmas Day in its entirety. Didn't do a thing on Christmas Day. I took most of yesterday off. Well, except for about 4 or 5 hours that I was working on some stuff. But that was kind of more relaxing little things. So it's crazy. But anyway, I've had 1 day off in the last 7 weeks. And I'm glad that I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. And we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. No, don't worry, Michael. We're going to be back on here in Fairbanks right after the commercial break. They had a bit of a problem there. Because I was on vacation, they put holiday clocks in the radio schedule, right? Because I'm not there. And then somebody forgot to take it out this morning. So they'll get her fixed up. They got her fixed up. They got her, Otter. Don't worry about it. Look at that. We're back early to the thing. I don't know why, but we're back early to Fairbanks. Hello, Fairbanks. How you folks doing? Yeah, I know we weren't here. It's because somebody forgot to do what they were supposed to do and turn the holiday clocks off and put the Michael Duke Show clocks in. But we're there. You guys are back to us early here on KFAR 660 AM. 99.5 FM. And we're going to be rejoining. You're about to hear the ding. This is the behind the scenes stuff. Oh, see, that's the 30-second warning that we're about to get on board here. So, yep, we got issues to talk about, and we're going to talk about the upcoming session, and we're going to talk, but more importantly, I'm going to talk about what I've been doing and some of the changes, because I want to share it with you. I feel like it's a journey I need to share with everybody. All right, you ready to go? We're 5 seconds out. Let's get to it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do it.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay. Hello. Welcome back to the program. The Michael Duke Show continues. Your home from Common Sense Radio. Your home for Common Sense Radio, from Common Sense Radio. I do have to say thank you to Frank. Frank just said, "Do you like your care package from Fairbanks?" Frank sent me a box of goodies from Virgil over there at the Santa Smokehouse, including some jalapenos, jerky, salmon jerky strips, and some smoked salmon, and some delicious kimchi sausages. Oh man, had to fight some people about that. Just some anyway. So thank you, Frank. That was a very Merry Christmas for me. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on board, and welcome back to the Fairbanks crowd. We're back online now here with the KFAR radio crowd up in the interior. Plus, we're broadcasting live across the state of Alaska and all the translators here for Peninsula Radio Group and all of our Associated Turquoise Broadcasting Group translators. So it's good to see you. So do you guys want to know what do you guys want to know what I've been doing, what I've been working on? So it was interesting. Part of the deal here is that the radio stations down here in the Homer area that I purchased with my wife, they've been running here since 1970, 45 years. And lots of coverage, lots of things going on, but a lot of the systems were not dated back to 1975, obviously, but they, some dated systems. They had some antiquated equipment and broadcast systems and automation systems and traffic systems. And so one of my points in getting started down here, one of the things that I wanted to do was, instead of spending the first month of my radio ownership career, so to speak, after we took over, trying to learn systems from the previous owner that I would then just have to jettison because we wanted to update the systems anyway, I decided instead, in my infinite wisdom, to stand up all these systems ahead of time and run them in parallel, and then just launch with the new automation system and broadcast system and traffic system and everything else. Well, as I said previously, I may have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. We made it. I got done with it, but boy, howdy, trying to stand up brand new systems, some of which I was familiar with, many of which I was not, and trying to learn those systems while getting things set up and everything else and all that. It was a monumental endeavor. And I can't thank enough the Beckers here, Dave Becker and his son Mike, who David and his wife Eileen, the previous owners of the stations. I just can't thank them enough for the help that Dave and Mike, his son, was, and for Chris Meadows, the engineer up from Fairbanks, and all the crew up there for helping us out, walking us through some of the issues and doing it. But boy, I'll tell you what, from the day after Thanksgiving, it was it's been a lot. From the day after Thanksgiving, it was basically a 12 to 15 hour a day, every day, go, no sleep. I lost 25 pounds in the last 8 weeks. And it wasn't no diet fad, man. It was just go, stress, not really eating right, doing my thing, and, but we got here. And so we've taken over the stations down here. We're up and running. And what's interesting is that the stations down here not only have their own associated translators, but we're partnered with another company called Turquoise Broadcasting that has another 19 or 20 translators across the whole state, including in Delta Junction. So we broadcast all the way from down on the Aleutian chain at Unalaska Dutch Harbor, through Kodiak, up the peninsula, Seward, the Nikiski, Homer, Soldotna, all the way up to Delta Junction. And so, folks, good morning to you folks in Delta. And I know I've made a few changes that has got some people scratching their head, and some people are happy. I've seen a lot of good response from some of the changes that we made on one of our stations, to the fact that people in Delta were upset that I've changed some of the news talk options up there because they were running a combination of news talk and music on one of the stations. And I've made a little bit of a change to that. So we're broadcasting up there for the KPEN station, which was covering, it has my show on it, and then it was Charlie Kirk and some other things before it went back to music. And I have made it just so that it's my show on there in the mornings, and then at 8 a.m. it will transition back to music. And I know some people, I've already gotten a phone call from somebody who said, hey, we really need that because we don't have much else in Delta and everything else. And, I'm hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but change is inevitable. So it's one of those things. It is one of those things. So we made a bunch of changes. We've changed the format slightly. We didn't make any radical changes. I think we improved them, and we're going to be continuing to make changes here on the news talk station KGTL down here as we move forward. And we get some good overnight programming coming, some class. Who here is an AM radio fan? I mean, if you're listening to this show, you're probably a big time radio fan. But who here remembers listening late at night to talk radio? What do you what is the first thing that springs to your mind when you're thinking about late night talk AM radio? What's the first thing you think about? What's one of the first programs that just leaps to mind? I'll wait for it. I'm going to wait for the chat room to tell me what it is, but yeah, we're probably going to be going to we're probably going to be making some changes out there. And yes, we did drop the Tradio, the flea market, the things like, ooh, man, look at that. Ding, ding, ding. Brian got it right off the bat. We did drop the Tradio flea market, and I know that's a big thing for some people. But as I have discovered in the past, usually that's a change that people can get behind. So it's going to be fun stuff. So lots of changes happening, and I just want to make it better. The big thing about radio, especially, and this is why I decided, you guys are all dinging. Most of you are dinging the right one over here. Dinging the right bell. The right art bell. The big thing about radio is that it is something that is still continuously hyper local, or should be. Now, I've been in radio a long time. I've been in radio since I was 16 years old. I did my first little stint, was on the air with old Jim Matherly, the former mayor of Fairbanks. Back in the old days, I helped him out. And then later on, when I was 17, 18, I did work down on Kodiak at KVOK in Kodiak when I was 17 or 18 years old, and never looked back. Been working and dabbling in radio ever since. But there's one thing about radio that really makes it work, and that is the fact that it is hyper local, or should be. Now, I've been watching radio for a long time, and of course, like many industries, it's consolidated. You get a lot of national players in there. You got a lot of things going on, from the bean counters and the accountants and consolidation and all that kind of stuff. And in doing a lot of those things, sometimes it has a tendency to lose some of its localness. And so one of the things that I've always been passionate about is working in the community, doing things with the community, and working with, businesses and nonprofits and events and community organizations, because that's, to me, what the heart of radio is. That's that to me is the important stuff. Is being part of something that is community driven, locally minded, community driven. That's what it's all about. And so that's one of the things we're going to focus on here with my stations down here in the peninsula. It's one of the things that KFAR tries to do up in the interior. I know that Perry, Wally, and I had, for years worked towards making that station as community minded as possible and things like that. And that's the power of it. I mean, we got social media, we got Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat and everything else where people can get stuff instantaneous, but nobody can promote and work and bolster community events and things like that better than local radio. So that's what our vision is here at the radio stations down here on the peninsula, and is to be part of that and to be part of the community in a huge way and do whatever we can. We'll still have our opinions, on the news talk. Obviously there's some opinions, and I'm sure there's probably a cadre of folks who are on the peninsula who don't care for, news talk or the right wing or whatever. I mean, I'm a libertarian, so everybody hates me. It doesn't matter to me. The left and the right both hate me sometimes. But, the other stations especially are here to be part of the community service and to do the things to be engaged and involved. And that's what we're going to try and do here on as we move forward. So it's kind of my public vision for what's happening and what we've been doing. But yeah, it was a very busy time. It was rewarding. It was, one of those things where it's terrifying while it's happening and you're going a million miles an hour and things are breaking and nothing's working right. And then everything starts to, and then I told Terry, I think it was Friday or Saturday, I said, because we took over on Wednesday. That was the first. That was the day that we flipped over to the new systems. And I think it was Saturday that I looked at Terry and said, I think I've run out of fires to put out. Been putting out fires for 3 days. And I think I just ran out of fires. So things are starting to get back to normal, and we're happy that they are. And we're looking forward to getting out there into the community and meeting with the people and doing all that kind of stuff. But I'm just excited. Right. And I just kind of wanted to share with you my journey here over the holidays. We had a great Christmas. Like I said, it was my one day off since Thanksgiving was Christmas. And it was super enjoyable. And then I took part of yesterday off to relax a little bit and drink coffee and have a little bit of a quiet time with Terry, and then got back to it. But it's just been amazing. Just been an amazing journey. And we're ready to go. So, all right. Well, we're up against the break. We're ready to jump into it. Let's continue on. We've got one final segment before we get back to hour 2. And we'll start talking about the things that are going on in the pre-session. Some of the stories that came up over the holiday break. There's a few of them. I mean, not a lot, but, some. So we're going to continue. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Hey. I'm checking the audio one more time just to be sure. I'm okay. Look at that. We're all good. I'm checking the audio. All right. Let me go back here to see what you guys have been talking about. Yeah. Greg was like, but radio. let me just tell you what my experience was. In Fairbanks, they had something called Tradio. They did have Tradio there in Fairbanks for years. And it was all part of Problem Corner, and they had Tradio, Mailbag, the whole deal. And they had it for years. And Perry Wally, this is probably 15 years ago, said, we're going to quit. We're going to quit doing swap and sell. We're going to quit doing Tradio. And I was like, man, that was hard. I told him, I said, I don't think that's the right idea. He goes, dude, I'm like, and when it went away, there were some people that called and complained for sure. But it was the advent. I mean, there was Craigslist. That was even before Facebook Marketplace. That was before all the other stuff. And there was a short but vocal cacophony about it. But then it went away. And I think we were better for it, because when you look at it, you know, you got the same dozen voices calling in on a daily basis. And I mean, it's kind of a coffee clatch. I mean, there's some synergy to it. There's some nostalgia to it. But in the long run, it's not really serving the point of what we can do in radio, especially when it can be done in a lot of other ways. So anyway, but yeah, Brian definitely wins here. He said, when you think of late night AM radio, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And if you're hearing the theme in your head like I am, from ghost to ghost. It's one of the things we're working on right now. So it's gonna be good. And Mystery Theater. Oh man, CBS Mystery Theater. Remember that? This is E.G. Marshall. Remember that? This is E.G. Marshall. What about folks doing Bluetooth on their radio? That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. All right. I did call Perry, said Frank. When they killed Tradio, he said, I did call Perry. Yeah. Some people did. So, I mean, I know, because Terry worked at the radio station at that point in Fairbanks. She was answering the phones. She was there. She was answering those phones. So, oh man. Okay. Jeannie says, I feel like a flatlander. I put my last few sticks in the wood stove before bed, woke up to the dogs in full scale freak outery. He said, I go out to our shed to load up all night, and here is a neighborhood bull calf snuggled up in the woodshed, sound asleep. I didn't have the heart to wake. I know we had the dogs went outside, I don't know, 5-6 days ago, and all of a sudden I hear this screech, just Bosco's going crazy, Terry's dog's going crazy. I go out there, and my dog is chasing a bull moose around the yard. Well, the bull moose was chasing my dog around the yard. It was a baby bull, but finally got him back in the house. Yeah, it's a fun stuff to be here up in the woods, right? Yeah. All right. Earthquake in Anchorage right now. Oh, there's an earthquake. Did an earthquake just happen? I didn't feel a thing. That's the thing. I didn't feel a thing. Randy said, I did not think that the CBS Mystery Theater with Hyman Brown was as good as much older radio dramas like Escape. Oh man, I'm a big time old time radio fan. And yeah, there was Escape was one of them. The Gulf Screen Guild Theater, CBS Mystery Theater. There was one called X. You remember that? It was the X. Anyway, it was a lot of good stuff. But yeah, there's, it comes and goes. That's the beauty of radio. That's when I fell in love with the radio. When I discovered old time radio dramas and then listened to radio with my grandfather as a kid, there was a lot happening there. There's a lot in. It's one of the reasons why I fell in love with radio. So the Shadow knows. Lamont Cranston. Yeah. Shadow was one of my favorites. Shadow was X+1. Thank you, Randy. That's what it was called. X+1. Okay, we're ready to jump back into this here. We go. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Let's get back to it. Here we go. Let's do this thing. We're 10 seconds out. I'm timing it all. I'm timing it all right now. All right, here we go. Getting back to it now.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Yep, welcome back to the Michael Duke Show. It's another beautiful day in paradise. We're ready to go. I guess we should start getting, we were getting back into this, the talk about old time radio, and some of the best radio shows throughout the years. And I was just lucky. My mom and dad were big old time radio fans. They had records of, The Shadow and Dragnet and The Lone Ranger and some of those great shows. And we had, I had tapes and tapes of, Gulf Screen Guild Theater and Mystery Theater with E.G. Marshall and all those other kinds of things. That's what really gave me a love for radio, the storytelling and the things that could be done and everything else. And of course, listening to a great legacy station like KFAR up in Fairbanks as a kid, listening to what they were doing and listening to the greats like, Steve Agbaba, Lee Russell, Jerry Fears, Bill Wally, all those guys up there that, we listened to, Lowell Purcell. That really got my attention. That really captured my imagination. And so anyway, the folks in the chat room just hit me with all the feels on all these old radio shows that I used to listen to all the time. And it's great. Great stuff. All right, let's get into some of the discussions and some of the stories that took place while we were all on vacation. Well, I was on vacation, and I was on vacation with you guys. This one caught my eye, which is like, what? A former chief of a volunteer fire department near Delta Junction is facing felony charges linked to a significant alleged thefts that triggered a service disruption last year. Michael Pashal, 62 years old, served as chief of the rural Deltana Volunteer Fire Department until January of last year. The grand jury in Fairbanks indicted Pashal late last month on charges including theft, scheme to defraud, felony misapplication of property, falsifying business records, evidence tampering. The charges stem from actions taken between August 2017 and January 2024. He served as both the chief and the board secretary and is accused of stealing more than $400,000 from the department's bank account and falsified records to hide the theft. He left Alaska with a department laptop, they said. He's currently in North Carolina and only said that he's cooperating with authorities if he asked he wanted to be. So he left the state. He bailed. The department briefly shut down, and the board of directors removed Pascal as the chief in January after they discovered accounting discrepancies that would have a significant negative impact on financial well-being of the department. $400,000, I would hope so. I would hope that, wow, you would think so. The board said the department was uninsured at the time through neglect or incompetence, and they had to suspend operations until it was remedied. They finally picked a new chief in July. The rural Deltana is in Clearwater and Big Delta. It serves residents who live outside the city of Delta Junction, which has its own fire department. And Pashal is just one of several officials accused of stealing funds for public entities. Remember that? There was the city of Houston had their treasurer sentenced in July for embezzling more than $1 million from the town and from a Wasilla-based equipment company. And then the city clerk of Anderson was sentenced last January after embezzling $140,000. How do you folks think that that's going to, I just don't even understand. You think you're going to get away with it? And then you're going to throw, what are you going to do? He's going to run away. He's in North Carolina. So they've indicted him, and they're going to try and bring him back to the state of Alaska. But $400,000 is really, in the scheme of things, is not much, right? Even if you live frugally, and I guess it depends on where you lived. I guess if you escaped overseas, you might be able to live longer on it. But I don't know. I don't know. Seems fishy to me. Seems real fishy. Well, January 1st, last Wednesday, the floodgates opened for the 2025 PFD. I said this earlier, and somebody in the chat room was like, for what, our $20 PFD? I don't know, man. I don't know what the PFD looks like for this coming year. I really don't. My guess is that it will be a lot less than what we received last year, because we're starting off this year with a $1 billion deficit in spending. And even though the governor produced a budget that has a full PFD in it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that doesn't mean that they're going to do. This is a group of folks who are now in charge of this legislature, who have promised the world to their constituencies. You get a chicken in a pot. You get a chicken. You get a chicken. Everybody's getting something. And so the dividend is open right now. So you have until March 31st to apply, and you could apply online. I think at is it pfdalaska.gov? Yep, pfdalaska.gov, or just go to your My Alaska account and there'll be a link there. But who knows? Who knows? I am not expecting much. I'll be honest. I am not expecting much at all. I'm thinking maybe, we might get a little bit, but, and especially in the coming years, especially looking at the spending habits of our current legislature and looking at what they're promising. What did some of the big candidates promise? They said, okay, we're going to up education. We're going to take care of the children. We're going to take care of the children. So, okay. Going to take care of the children. That's more money, right? Every time that you spend an extra $100 on the BSA, it's another $25 million in increase. So if you spend another $1,000, it's another $250 million, right? So there's that, plus any one-time funding that you want to talk about. They also talked about, of course, the defined benefits for the public employees. And now they start off by saying, oh, it's just troopers and firefighter, public safety. But what's going to happen. Every other employment unit in the government is going to go, well, if they've got it, we should get it. So you'll have another 25,000 people, plus the municipalities and the cities will want to get in on that, like they did before. And now they want this defined benefits program, which they said is going to, what did Cliff Grow said when he came on the program? Oh, this is actually going to save us money. Show me on this piece of paper how it's going to save us money. And of course, they also make some wildly inaccurate leaps in logic to say, well, this is the reason why people are leaving the state, because they don't have a good retirement program. Well, again, the employees of the state of Alaska, that makes up one of the smaller segments of people. Those aren't the people that are leaving. It's the middle income, blue collar, early to middle age folks who are leaving. Not the folks who got the golden parachute, gold plated retirement and good benefits and everything else that a state job gives. And by the way, have you done any exit interviews with the state employees to find out why they're leaving? You're making all these assumptions. And from what I understood in talking to certain legislators and others, when I asked this question, is that no, they're actually not really doing any, they're not doing any exit interviews to figure out why people, but this is the argument. Well, we've got to have defined benefits because people are leaving state where we can't get new state employees and other people are leaving state employment. And it's all because of this. Have you asked them if that's what it is? Well, no, but we assume. Well, you know what happens when you assume. You know what happens. It's kind of nutty. It's kind of nutty what's going on with that. And then, of course, the final thing, which we're going to talk about here in the next segment, is the gas situation, the natural gas situation. It's coming to a head. The RCA actually, somebody from the RCA actually started to make a bit of a stink about this. So like I said earlier, I wasn't sure if it was because, Brad's been pushing hard. You guys have been reaching out to the RCA. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden, somebody at the RCA said, hey, guys, we're at a crisis point. Yeah, you think so? I mean, we're at a crisis point. We got to do something about it. But I can see right now that one of the big pushes is to have the state pay for something or everything or a big chunk of it. And the big problem here is that we don't have any money. How did this all start off with me saying that the PFD filing was open? I don't know. This is just how it rolls. So PFD it's set to go. Go to pfdalaska.alaska.gov, pfd.alaska.gov if you want to sign up for your PFD. Could be one of the last times we get it, quite honestly. Possibly, maybe. Hour 2 is dead ahead, the Michael Duke Show. Common Sense Radio. Okay. How you are doing there? How you are doing? You guys ready? Making sure that everything is running. I'm sure for the next few days, you guys will be seeing me looking at the screens after we go to every commercial break just to make sure that the world isn't coming unstuck. Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second. Talk amongst yourselves. I have to answer a technical question from somebody from my automation system. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. Try to wear too many hats. All right. Let me go back here and see what you guys have been talking about. Jeannie said people leave because management is a bunch of bullies. Well, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. Yeah, Willie says $1.52 billion deficit plus at least a $200 million supplemental budget for this year. Anthony says, plot twist, the 2025 PFD will be a robust package which includes a $20 gift card to a coffee shack of your choice, as well as your local elected representative taking a poop on your front steps. Enjoy. Oh man. I'm going back and forth. Anthony said, I was a huge Coast to Coast fan. When I got out of the Army, I got a gig out of state as an armed security for a rail yard switch station in a problem area. Basically used to beat up train hobos. Hopped up on meth during the third shift, listening to ghost and alien stories on the AM. Good times. Good times. Yeah, no, there's some great stuff out there. Let me see here. Oof, entry-level trooper makes $115,000 a year. Yow. That's a decent starting wage. In keeping with Alaska tradition, we need a study. Yep, another study to actually analyze recruiting and retention issues. Well, again, I mean, a simple study would be to simply ask people when they leave, why are you leaving? Especially if they're not at retirement age. Why are you leaving? You'd think that would be a basic question. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but even I would be like, you're a good worker, you're a good employee, you're young, you're not at retirement age. Why are you leaving? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Oh, let's see. How's the long trail coming? How's the long trail coming? Frank says, I don't think the PFD will ever go away. It will be used as a credit for some of your state income taxes you will be paying. Oh, that's even worse, man. That's even worse. It's even worse. Did I get a producer yet? You need a producer to get you focused, says Harold. Okay. I'm going to take advice from a guy who drinks Folgers. But then Greg says, you got a producer yet? I don't need a producer, man. I could do this thing. It's my first day back in 16 days. You guys want to give me a bit of a break here? Okay. Jeez. You guys are so mean. So mean. Yeah. Anthony says 100K a year is almost not enough for a state trooper up here. No matter where you fall on the authoritarian/anti-establishment spectrum, we can all agree Alaska troopers get some pretty extreme suckitude. Yes. Yep. I could see that. Okay. I think we're coming up on it right now. I think that's we got a lot of good stuff. We got a lot of good stuff here. We're ready to go. So I am ready. Where are we at? Well, we're a minute out. Okay. We're getting ready to rock and roll. Don't forget, you can always like our Facebook page. Somebody said this morning that it wasn't. There's people on YouTube. I saw. Willie's on YouTube. Somebody said earlier that the YouTube wasn't working, but you can like us if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook or on Rumble, you can like the show wherever you are. And you can share the show. There's 70-something people watching, and only 20 of you have liked the show. What's the matter with you? Do I have to beg? Don't make me beg, man. Just push the like button. What's the big deal? Or the hate button. If you hate it, push the hate button. Push the button. All right, here we go. Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Oh, live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find the audio-only live stream. And, of course, live around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the program. It is hour 2 of the big radio show, our big first broadcast day for 2025. Thank you for coming in and joining us. I was just telling the folks in hour 1 that for those of you who are just joining us, that I was trying to remember how to do all this. There's a lot of bells and whistles and buttons I got to push to make this thing happen. And I was like, how do I do this again? Anyway, welcome back to the program, and thanks for coming in and joining us. We are going to go over in this hour some of the stories that we missed while we were on holiday, and there wasn't a lot of them. Luckily, this is one of the reasons why I usually take off the time between Christmas and New Year's, because nothing is really happening. Everybody's on vacation mentally, if not physically. They're on vacation mentally anyway. They don't, there's not a whole lot happening, especially in statewide news and things like that. So there are a couple things that took place over the last 2.5 weeks, but nothing, earth-shattering. But again, shades of things to come. I think it's going to be interesting. Oh, did Justin Trudeau just resign? I saw that. I saw something about that he was that there's a possibility that he resigned. Yeah, he's resigning. Ooh, did not want to play in the same sandbox with President Trump, apparently. Well, there you go. Okay. Anyway, but here we are, first part of the year, getting things ready. The legislative session is a mere 2 weeks away. It starts on the 21st. Thank you for the chat room for reminding me which day. I couldn't remember if it was again, you stop working for 2 weeks and stuff just starts flying out of your head. But we're going to take a look at everything here that is coming up, and we'll see we'll see what's going on. Some headlines. I guess not headlines, but urgency. Some emergency updates. For those of you who are down on the Kenai Peninsula, the Seward Highway was closed at about 5 a.m. this morning, so 2 hours ago. It will be closed in both directions, according to the trooper email alert, for several hours, quote unquote, for a non-injury vehicle collision. So if you're planning on driving up north towards Girdwood, it's right before between Girdwood and the Portage Cutoff at mile marker 83. The highway is closed in both directions and will be for at least a couple more hours. And so just a heads up, if you're heading up that way, you may want to stop and get some coffee or get some breakfast or just peruse the magazine rack or the bookstore aisles for a little bit here while you're waiting for the highways to open back up. But it is currently closed. Seward Highway currently closed in both directions, just south of Girdwood for now. Also, a winter weather advisory is in effect. In fact, there's several different ones. For Anchorage and the Mat-Su, they're expecting snow and rain mixed, with up to 1 inch of snow and ice accumulations up to 1/4 inch in Anchorage and the Mat-Su Valley from 6 a.m. this morning, from noon today to 6 a.m. Tuesday morning. Very slippery on roads and sidewalks, going to make the commute a little more hazardous than normal. Rain is most likely to spread in Anchorage and the Mat-Su from this afternoon through tonight. Down on the Kenai Peninsula here, freezing rain expected. Total accumulation of a light glaze from 9 a.m. this morning through 3 a.m. tomorrow. A series of storms is going to bring considerably warmer weather and a chance of precipitation to the area through Tuesday, and rain is most likely to spread into the western Kenai Peninsula from Monday afternoon through tonight, with temperatures being above freezing, but the surface temperatures are still below, so you're going to see more of that ice. And then finally, in the Delta Junction area up in the interior, there's a wind advisory, 25 to 35 with gusts up to 55 until noon today. So power outages, they're worried about tree limbs blowing down and power outages and everything else. So on top of that cold weather, looking for a little wind. So that's your kind of weather alerts and advisories for what's going on around the state of Alaska today, and kind of the updates of everything that's going on around there. So Nick Begich has sworn in. His first act was to vote for the House Speaker position, voting for Speaker Mike Johnson to retain his seat. And he was ready to go. Begich has vowed to prioritize Alaska, saying he wanted to work with President-elect Trump to unlock Alaska's resource potential. He had stated back in November after the election that he believed his campaign's message of prosperity resonated with Alaska voters. And he mentioned 67 executive orders issued by the Biden-Harris administration that have restricted resource development. And he's exploring legal opportunities to open up those resources and work with the president on that as well. There was one interesting thing that came up in the article from KTUU. The article says that Begich may find himself at odds with President-elect Trump and some members of Alaska's congressional delegation regarding one issue, Denali. Before Christmas, Trump gave a speech in Phoenix to the conservative group Turning Point USA and said he wanted to restore the name of North America's tallest peak back to Mount McKinley to honor William McKinley, the 25th president. Trump said that President McKinley was the president that was responsible for creating a vast sum of money in the United States that Teddy Roosevelt then spent. So let's say they were both excellent presidents, but McKinley did that. And one of the reasons we're going to bring back the name of Mount McKinley is because I think he deserves it. Murkowski was quoted after that comment to say she thinks it's an awful idea. However, Begich on Friday announced that he didn't comment on that. But he said he was focused on basically unleashing Alaska's vast resources. Now, interestingly enough, as he hit the ground running, he presented 3 legislative initiatives that he claims are designed to empower Alaska's native communities, improve local governance, and foster better economic prospects around the state. These 3, which surprisingly enough, I think a couple of these were carried by Mary Peltola early on, but she couldn't get any traction with them But now that the Republicans hold both the House and the Senate and the White House come January 20th, maybe these will make more sense. One was H.R. 2687, the Alaska Native Settlement Trust eligibility. It excludes settlement trust benefits for certain Alaska Natives, those who are blind, disabled, or 65 or older, from being considered income when determining eligibility for means-tested federal benefits like Social Security, SNAP, or housing assistance. It also closes a long-standing gap in ANCSA, the Alaska Native Claim Settlement Act provisions, ensuring that elders and individuals with disabilities are not forced to choose between much-needed settlement trust income and federal assistance. The second one was H.R. 4748, Unrecognized Southeast Alaska Native Communities Recognition and Compensation Act. It amends ANCSA to allow Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Tanaki, and Wrangell, historically excluded Native communities, to form urban corporations and select 23,000 acres each from the Tongass National Forest. And it restores land entitlements for these unrecognized communities while preserving existing right-of-ways, ensuring meaningful economic and cultural opportunities for Alaska. So, I mean, it seems like fair is fair. That seems to make sense to me anyway. Fair is fair in that. And the third one was the Alaska Native Village Municipal Lands Restoration Act, H.R. 6489. It eliminates the requirement under ANCSA Section 14C3 that the Alaska Native Village corporations convey land to the state to be held in trust for future municipalities. Instead, it returns undeveloped land to the original village corporations, and it empowers the Native communities to develop and use that land. Which, for me, I'm all for more land getting into private, or in the case of Native villages, quasi-private hands. I mean, the federal government has most of the land. The state has the second biggest chunk, and the people have nearly nothing. What was the breakdown? It's like 74% owned by the 74% owned by the federal government, and something like 23% owned by the state. The Native corporations have like 2%, and then the 1% is in actual private hands. I mean, 1% of the land in the state of Alaska in private hands. That's a wow. You know, we need to get back to that. We need to. So anything that allows more land into private hands, I think is good. So Nick has hit the ground running. We're hoping to hear from Nick maybe next week. I've reached out, and we'll see if we can get him on the program next week to give us an update with the speaker vote. And are we going back to regular order? Is Congress actually going to do its job or continue to abdicate its responsibility for budgeting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we hope to have that conversation with Nick Begich here in the near future. Of course, some of the other big stories that happened over the holidays. There was that New Orleans attack. There was the Cybertruck attack in Las Vegas. The guy who did the New Orleans attack apparently had served with the military, not time, but served in the military here in Alaska. So he had some Alaska ties, but I don't know. This whole thing just, it's a crazy, crazy world we lived in. And then as I was going back through because I was like, I have to look back to see what the news stories were, because I wasn't paying really much attention to the news the whole time I was, working over the last 16, 17 days. And I go back and I'm like, oof, the shooting here, the shooting there, Anchorage man shot into crowd, the teenage girl shot in East Anchorage, the whole, I mean, it's just like every time I turn around, it was one more shot. Somebody else, one more thing that was going. It was like, man, when did Los Anchorage turn into East LA? Right? I mean, when did that happen? It's kind of crazy when you see everything that's been going on. But we're going to get into some of the other stories, including the latest on the upcoming gas shortage. The RCA has finally gotten involved. Well, I mean, kind of gotten involved. I don't know if you could say that they're actually doing anything quite yet, but they're making some noise. So we'll see what that leads to, and we'll talk about that up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return more right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. All righty then. How we do there? How's it going? How you doing? Let's get caught up. Let me see here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Should I check it? I guess I should, just to be sure. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Here we go. Going to check it. Yep, that's it. A boat. Okay, let me get caught up here. See where you guys are at. Kevin. I was going to ask Kevin earlier. Did anything happen from that APOC meeting? Did anything happen with that? Hopefully Kevin's still here. Donna Ardwin is in the chat room. She says the defined benefit pushers aren't being honest. They want to out golden handcuffs. They want to put golden handcuffs on employees to require them to stay. That's one thing, because with the defined benefits, it's not portable. It's not portable at all. You have to stay. Let's see. Jeannie said, anyone get a look at Homestead this weekend on the Angel from Angel Studios? I have not. I've been waiting for it. I have not watched it yet. I did read the book. Those are from Jeff Kirkham. And it's an interesting book. It's a good book. But I have not watched the thing yet. So we'll get into that here as we go. Did he actually resign? Trudeau. Did Trudeau? According to Drudge, it's the headline on Drudge right now. The headline on... you actually have to spell Drudge when you type it in. The headline on Drudge says, Trudeau announces exit. So apparently that's a yes. That's a yes. So apparently he is out the door. He's out the door, people. Let's see. Lots and lots of weird conspiracy theories. Let's see. Ice storm in Missouri. Coworker who lives in Girdwood just let me know the roads are bad enough. She is working from home today. Well, that's good. So it's probably good that they closed the road there. Yeah. Anthony said people in Delta don't even acknowledge wind until it hits category 4 hurricane levels. Yeah, I was thinking 25 to 35 with gusts up to 55. Isn't that like a Tuesday in Delta? I mean, right? I mean, just, I don't know. It just didn't. I mean, isn't that like normal? Isn't that normal? Let's see. They need to stock those. Okay, the corporate land, private land. People still talking about McKinley versus Denali. I'm ambivalent either way at this point. I did not catch the New Year's aurora. On New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, I was actually in bed at 10 o'clock, I think 10:30. I just crashed hard. And then I was up at 5 o'clock on New Year's Day. So that's just how we roll around here. News you may have missed. Fairbanks trapper caught a 149-pound wolf. Woof. Woof. Okay. All right. We'll get into that story here in a minute, Kevin. I got 10 seconds. You guys ready to go? Let's get back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Let's get to it. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another beautiful day here. First broadcast day of 2025. Oh, man. So much work has gone into the last few weeks, and I'm happy to see it all paying off today as we kick things off for this 2025 broadcast year for the Michael Duke Show. Thank you for being part of it and joining us here. Don't forget, you can always join us in the chat room as well. If you want to be part of the show, between the breaks and kind of the behind the scenes stuff, you can join us over at facebook.com/Michael Duke Show /live /Michael Duke Show /live if you want to jump right to it. Or you can go over there and like and follow the show page, or you can do it on YouTube, or you can do it on Rumble, and you can check it all out over there and be part of it and kind of just join the conversation in various ways. Or you can go to my website at michaeldukeshow.com and you can click on the audio only live stream there. If you can't get it on the radio or you're inside and there's no reception or whatever, feel free to do it over there. Coming up on tomorrow's program, we're going to be talking with Brad Keithley from Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets. We'll have his take on a lot of the news stories that came out over the holidays and where he thinks we're going here in the next couple weeks as the session kicks off. And we'll also talk with Chris Story. And then on Wednesday, we'll be visiting, I believe, for the first visit of the year with State Senator Mike Shower. So we're going to be do it. It's going to be fun stuff. It should be fun this week as we continue to crank out the hits here and start talking more and more about what's going to be happening in the upcoming session. Well, I can tell you one of the things that's going to come up in the upcoming session, and that is the Alaska gas shortfall that we've been talking about on this program since last year. The folks in the utility business, specifically, I'm looking at John Sims, has kind of been beating around the bush on this, talking about it, but really not coming up with any solutions. They keep going back to the legislature and say the legislature should do something about this, when quite honestly, it's not really the legislature's job to do this. It is the utilities and the resource developers that are supposed to work these things out and get it done. And overseeing all that is the RCA, the Regulatory Commission of Alaska. One of Brad Keithley's constant complaints here over the last few weeks has been, where is the RCA? The inaction from the utilities, and again, I'm specifically looking at NSTAR's John Sims on this since he's been the poster boy, the leading, the face of this whole thing. Brad Keithley's been asking, why is the RCA not involved in this, prodding them to get on the stick? And the regulators, Bob Pickett, who's a longtime member of the RCA, said he's increasingly concerned about urban Alaska's energy supply as we hurtle towards that shortfall of local gas without a clear plan to do something about it. He's quoted in the ADN of saying, if things just sort of slide and there's no leadership and we're in the same position 12 months from now, we're looking at a dire situation and people should get angry. Yes. Utility leaders say they're advancing plans to build the port infrastructure needed to receive cargoes of liquefied natural gas that they expect to fill the gap. And they say they have a contingency plan in the event of a gas shortfall that would keep Alaskans from losing heat and power. Now, what that answer is, nobody's really saying. Although MEA did make a, we'll talk about that here in a second. The utility consortium representing communities from Homer on the Kenai to Fairbanks in the interior released a study in mid-2023 that said that they faced a shortfall in gas as soon as 2027. Now, remember, that was the initial report. And then they commissioned a second report that was supposed to come out and tell us, to come out with some more answers as to how to fix this. Remember that? And that report was supposedly done, but never released. This is the report that Brad has been talking about, that these guys, remember that? The first report, though, called for the utilities to choose a permanent solution or multiple options to fill the gap by the end of 2023, but they never did anything. The four utilities involved in this consortium include Chugach Electric in Anchorage, Matsu Electric in the Matsu, Homer Electric and Golden Valley Electric in Fairbanks. And then on top of that, you have NSTAR. NSTAR is leading the consortium. One option that they're considering, the natural gas industry executives has said publicly, is hiring a floating vessel that was function as an LNG receiving port for cargoes that could supply all of them. Separately, however, a source with direct knowledge of the matter said that Chugach Electric, the largest of the 4 electric utilities, is also exploring the construction of its own import facility. This is the Marathon Petroleum Corp plant down here on the Kenai, where they would basically repurpose it and rework the Marathon plant there to be an import facility instead of an export facility. So apparently Chugach is like, we ain't waiting on you cats to get it done. But of course, the big part of this problem is the dithering. The second part of this problem is that everybody's waiting for that they're so focused on making sure that we have Alaska gas, that there needs to be Alaska gas. That the problem is, of course, is the time frame. Right? That the time frame, that even if we started to, let's just say that we found an extra $1 billion in the couch cushion somewhere, right? Just an extra $1 billion. And they said, here you go, just give it to the gas companies. You guys go drill. Here's $1 billion to go drill. You go do what you need to do. We're still several years away from bringing and assuming that they discover gas. Now, remember here, before we went to the holiday vacation, that there was a story that talked about that the success rate of exploration drilling in the Cook Inlet was that it was only a 10% success rate. 9 out of 10 holes were dry. So, but let's assume that we find $1 billion and they're out there drilling, and and they're boom, right there. They're out there drilling and they found some gas. 1 in 10 chance of finding gas, but they found a gas. It's still going to take years for that gas to come online and come to market. 3, 5 years maybe. And you got, everything from permitting and regulations and everything else to actual timelines, getting this, steel or whatever they need. I mean, it's not like you flip a switch and baby, you're on. And so it's just amazing to watch it. That you've got oil and gas industry boosters, policymakers, legislators saying utilities should focus on obtaining the gas locally. It's just not realistic. And even the paper quote saying the utilities have largely dismissed those responses to the near-term shortfall, saying they can't depend on industry to drill more Cook Inlet wells or the state to raise billions of dollars needed to build a pipeline for the in-state gas line to bring it from the North Slope. There's just not, because that's even worse. If you wanted to try and bring it up from the north, how long is it going to take to build a pipeline from the North Slope down? How is it going to do that? Julie Esty, the chief strategy officer at Matsu Electric, said an LNG project in the near term is a likely reality. If there's something that comes between now and then, that's great, but we don't have any line of sight or certainty of that, and we're responsible for keeping the light on. Matanuska Electric is also asserting its own priorities. They said they want short-term certainty that it will have access to LNG, combined with long-term flexibility that it can reduce its purchases once other sources of energy come online. That said, MEA wouldn't rule out signing a 10-year contract for imported LNG, based on what Julie Esty described as a minimum 8-year timeline for projects like wind farms, a coal plant with carbon capture technology, or a state-sponsored gas line. Yeah, a minimum of 8 years on those projects. And by the way, 2027 is 2 years away. That 2 years is when they're suggesting that this gas shortage is going to take effect. The utility MEA currently generates 85% of its electricity from gas, all of which comes from Hilcorp. And Hilcorp, that contract ends in 2028, and Hilcorp has already said that they're not going to sign another contract at the same level. They're not going to do A meeting of the Regulatory Commission of Alaska in November, the agency called the head of the Homer Electric Association. This was interesting from my perspective, being down here in Homer now. Homer Electric is the smallest of all urban utilities and uses the least amount of gas, but its current supply contract with NSTAR expires at the end of this March. So 2 months from now. And it hasn't announced its plans to fill the gap. So Homer Electric is 2 months away, January, February, March, 3 months away, from its contract expiring with NSTAR to produce electricity. At the hearing in November, Homer Electric Association's general manager, Brad Janerski. I'm sorry, Brad, I butchered your name. Janerski said the utility expects to extend its NSTAR contract, adding that the expiration is, quote, not one of the top issues that keeps me up at night. But he acknowledged in response to questions from the commissioners that his utility does not yet have a firm commitment from NSTAR. 2 months, 3 months, right? 10 weeks. 10 weeks from expiring. And he's like, no, it's not keeping me up at night. Do you have a commitment? No, but it's not keeping me up at night. Oh, that makes me worry. The commissioners also pressed Janerski on what his utility would do in the event it doesn't have enough gas to meet the members' demand. He said Homer Electric Association doesn't have the ability to distinguish between residential customers, businesses, and hospitals if the needs to limit service. So if they need to do limited service, they can't just like shut off residences but keep hospitals open, or shut down businesses and keep residents open. They don't do that. So this was not a thing that was inspiring confidence. Some of the other utilities are also looking at other options, but there is a fair amount of complacency, is what they said. This is the RCA's quote from the RCA. There's a fair amount of complacency. Utility executives say they should be able to meet demand even if the LNG import facility isn't fully built by the time the gas shortfall develops. John Sims at NSTAR said the gas could also be shipped to Alaska in sealed containers or trucked from Canada or the North Slope, which would cost as much as 3 times as much as Cook Inlet gas. MEA said their utility is examining whether, as a last resort, it could turn to diesel fuel to generate substantial amounts of its power, which would also be a substantially pricier options. So she said, we're running through all the worst case scenarios. If nothing changes between now and then, what do we have available? You guys, you've had a year and you've done nothing. You know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen in 2 weeks? Can you guess? Can you guess what happens in 2 weeks? There will be a whole plane chartered from the South Central area of all the people from the utilities flying down to Juneau to stand in front of the legislature with their hat in their hand and their hand out and say, you guys need to help us. You gotta help us. You can see it already. You can see it. You guys have dithered and procrastinated to now you're making it the crisis, making a crisis even more crisis-like. We could have been working on this a year ago. Why? Because they want Uncle Sugar, the state of Alaska, to pay, even though his pockets are empty. It's crazy. This is going to be a top issue. Top issue. This and education, which, by the way, is up next. David Boyle's got a great article and must read we're going to go over. Back with more of the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. All right. One more time here. Just check it for my peace of mind, my own peace of mind. Gonna check it just to make sure that everything. Yep, everything's good. Okay, all right. Making sure we got the audio and everything's here. Am I keeping Firearms Friday in 2025? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Paul, why wouldn't I? All right. I'm going back here. See what you guys have been talking about. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Daybreeze and Homer. Shootings, Gator Pokemon battles, Cybertruck bombers. Are we becoming Florida? I didn't sign up for this. Yeah, no, interesting. We in the interior, says Michael, will be having a couple of send-offs for our legislators. It'll be great to give them a fresh reminder about all. Can't wait for that. Alaska we will overcome. Says Michael. We will overcome, Alaska. So let's see. Melissa Burnett up in Fairbanks says list of schools for consolidation coming out today for the FNSBSD, the school district. Okay, that'll be interesting. I can already see the Facebook warriors are warming up their keyboards, ready to cry a river about all the consolidation. And how could you close my local school? How could you do that? Well, it's because we've got less students and less money. That's how it works. Okay. Is there natural gas distribution in the city of Homer? In the city, yes, there is. In fact, there's gas outside parts of the city and in some places around the peninsula. Not up here, unfortunately. That would be a good thing. Okay. They're hauling natural gas to Fairbanks from Prudhoe Bay, said Chris. Yes, again, but it is 3 times the cost of what it would be to import gas or for Cook Inlet gas, and probably double what it would cost to actually import it. All right. Today is the day to plant a tree, says TR Fox. Yes, no, I mean, today's, the best time was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So, yeah, it's going to happen. Brian asked, is that 10% success rate inlet wide or even for development drilling? Because if that 10% number for development wells, there's no way anyone would drill another well. That was what was quoted in the ADN here right before we went to the holiday break, is when they were talking about Hex and doing some of the drilling there, is that they said 9 in 10, I think it was 9 in 10 wells essentially come up dry. I think that was right. If I'm not mistaken. I suppose now you're going to make me go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that's it's a long time ago, man. It was 2 weeks ago. Let me go back and see if there was something on Hex. Come on. Sort by date. Give me a date. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's the story from Nat Hers in the ADN back on December the 14th, right? Where was it? That's August. Where's the... All right. There it is. Is that it? No. Anyway, we'll have to go back. I can't find the story right this hot second right now, Brian, but I'll go back and take a look at it. Where is it? Anyway, I believe it was 9 out of 10. I believe it was only a 10% success rate, if I recall correctly. Somebody will have to quote me. They'll have to go back and check it out there. The plan is to raise our rate again, says Greg. Yeah, that's a problem, right? I can't wait to show you my electric bill. I already know what it's going to be. And yeah, big digits, folks. Radio's not cheap to run. I'll tell you what the electric bill looks like, but it's not cheap to run. Thousands per month. Okay. Okay. I guess we're caught up. I'm not caught up yet, but we're close. So we'll get into that. All right, here we go. Jumping back into it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Go to YouTube. Look at that. Almost 42 people liked it. There's still more of you than likes. Why haven't you liked? Do you not like me? You not like me?
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for coming in and joining us. One final segment here for today, this beautiful Monday with the freezing rain and the cold weather in Fairbanks and the snow, the blowing winds in Delta. It's just another beautiful day here in Alaska, right? Just another beautiful day there here in Alaska. We were just talking more about the gas issue, and I mean they are trucking gas from the North Slope down into Fairbanks. They are bringing LNG tanker trucks apparently for the Fairbanks. Was it Fairbanks? I've forgotten what the name of it is. Interior Gas Utility (IGU). They're bringing gas down, but essentially they're pricing it right under what you'd pay for heating oil. So it's not like it's a huge savings. And as they said, if they had to do that for NSTAR, it would be triple what they're paying in the Cook Inlet currently. Now, importing natural gas, liquid LNG, LNG, I mean, it could be double what they're paying, but it's still better than trucking it at this point. I don't know. It's so crazy. Hillcorp, though, is in it for the long haul. Hillcorp wants to build a Kenai Peninsula gas storage facility, another one. There's a newly formed company called Hillcorp Alaska Gas Storage. They filed an application last week. This last week on Monday. They filed a application with the RCA for permission to own and operate a storage facility at the Kenai gas field south of Kenai. This would be the second facility of its kind, similar to the Cook Inlet Natural Gas Storage Alaska that's also on the Kenai. They are obviously looking for the long haul. They're looking to the thing. Part of the problem as well is that the SINGSA, the Cook Inlet Natural Gas Storage Alaska, SINGSA. Anyway, it had 5 wells, but 2 of them collapsed apparently and failed to deliver gas. 2 of the 5 back in January of last year when they had that bitter cold snap. You remember that? I do. They failed to deliver gas. And so Hillcorp's out there saying, well, we'll need to build another one. They need to make it happen. It should be interesting. According to the filing, the gas storage facility would provide, quote, diversity in storage options, additional capacity to provide a sufficient buffer against an extended cold snap, and future capacity for the types of long-term solutions we will need, including but not limited to supporting the potential future importation of liquefied natural gas. This will support Alaska's economy and benefit all residents and businesses of South Central and beyond. Yeah. So, I mean, even Hillcorp is like, yeah, LNG, baby. They're getting ready for it. I mean, they know this is, anybody who could look at this honestly knows this is not a surprise. LNG is really the only short and midterm solution for this problem. They also said in the filing, the fluctuating nature of LNG supply combined with the need for continuous service requires sufficient storage to manage both local and imported gas effectively. Storage also allows utilities to store surplus gas during warmer months and release it when demand peaks, ensuring a stable supply. That again, Hillcorp they're on top of this. They're getting it. They know what they need to do. They're investing in where things are going. It is inevitable that we're going to be pulling some kind of LNG, and they're going to need the storage for it. You know, maybe it's only 1 or 2 tankers a year. Maybe it's 3 tankers a year, but you got to have a place to put it while you're burning it off. And if the Syncsa storage facility is not up to snuff, as witnessed by the fact that 2 of the 5 storage wells, just didn't produce gas, apparently they'd failed in some way, then yeah, they're going to need it. And Hillcorp's like, thank you. We don't mind if we do. We'll step up here and build another one, and we'll be ready to take that gas when it comes in. It's madness. Anyway, again, expect this to be a big hot button issue in the upcoming session. One of the other big issues, of course, is going to be school funding. David Boyle wrote a piece for Must Read Alaska. It's titled, Bye-bye, PFD. The schools need, quote unquote, them. He goes on to quote Senator Loki Tobin, who has been all over the ADN, her newsletters, everything else, talking about raising the base student allocation by an astounding $1,900. $1,900. That's $500 million, by the way, because you raise it about, for every $100 increase, it's about $26 million. So if you raise it 10 times, it's $260 million. If you raise it 20 times, so they're talking about raising it by almost $2,000, which would be a $500 million increase per year forever. Now, I will remind you that this upcoming session, which we're about to jump into here in 2 weeks, we are already facing a $1.56 billion deficit, and we haven't even done the supplemental budget for this current year, meaning that they're going to have to probably $200 million. So 1.6, 1.7, $1.75 billion in deficit before we even get started. The problem here is that the reality of what's happening is not that schools are underfunded, is that Alaska schools are losing thousands of students, both through the exodus, the out-migration of people in the state of Alaska, and the fact that homeschooling has become a very popular option. In fact, the movement has really increased and accelerated. So instead of living within their means and cutting themselves and finding ways to do it, the district has got to compensate by increasing the per student funding for those students remaining. Now, there is a hold harmless provision inside the funding formula that only allows for a certain percentile drop of funding, even if they lost, let's say they lost half the students in 1 year. They're still going to get money, like there's a 3/4 or more of the students are there, even because there's a whole, it trickles down and it steps down gradually. But the problem is that the student numbers have been decreasing for years, and they have been projected to continue to decline for years. And the school districts in this state, not all, but many of the school districts in this state have ignored the handwriting on the wall and have just not bothered to try and get the efficiencies and get the things taken care of. That they're just like, nope, the pump will always be flowing. The money will always be there. We'll get whatever we want. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And that is not how you run a railroad. You don't walk around going la 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 la. You just, but that's what they're doing. And they come back and they cry poor mouth. They cry to the, they cry to the state that, oh, you're not fulfilling your duty. You're not doing. You have a declining number of enrollments, a number of students in enrollment, and you're receiving a big chunk per student. You've been warned that the student numbers are declining and will continue to decline, and you know exactly how much money you're, roughly going to get, and yet you're not planning. And then when they do a consolidation, and Melissa Burnett, the Fairbanks School Board president, actually mentioned it to us earlier here in the chat room. But she was in the chat room. She said that the Fairbanks School District is coming out with its list of schools to consolidate today. Today, they're going to release a list of schools that they're going to consolidate. Because then a lot of times, you've got schools that are only at 40, 50% capacity, maybe 60. And these schools need to be at 80 or 90% capacity to be efficient. And so you got all these schools where they're at 50% capacity, and you could consolidate them, but then every time then you gen up the community to come out and scream and shout and I love my school and my kids. I went there when I was a kid. It's all this emotion and everything else. Really, there's just no more money. We've got to do this more efficiently. Anyway, Boyle breaks this down and goes through all this stuff and basically says this is all just going to come at the hand of the PFD. The PFD is going to be gone because it's the one readily available supply of money that they will have access to, and it'll be good luck. Good luck with us. That's how it's going to work. You can go read this article at Must Read Alaska. David Boyle. Bye-bye, PFD. The school needs them. All right, tomorrow, Brad Keithley, Chris Story. We're out of time. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Thanks for coming on. It's good to be back. We'll see you tomorrow. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. All right, my fine feathered friends. You guys ready? I'm going back here. It's 75, and it's a 3-year thing. 75, 50, and 25 of peak for the average daily membership on the Hold Harmless. So the first year it's 75, the second year 50. Yeah, so I mean it's crazy. What are we going to do? I don't even understand. How are we going to do this? Anyway, it's crazy out there. All right, my friends. Well, we will see you tomorrow. Thank you for being part of it. Be kind, love one another, and live well. We'll see you then. Have a good day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.